Hello YouTube, welcome back to my kitchen. I have missed it in here so much. I know I upload videos of me cooking 1 to 2 times every week, so for you it's super consistent, but I have not been home in over 3 weeks. I have not cooked in over 3 weeks. I have definitely missed this, especially because I recently got detained and I'm gonna tell you all about it, but first, we need to wash our fresh produce. Okay, now that we have washed our kale, our apple, and our squash, let's go ahead and preheat the oven here to 450. And then we are going to open our chickpeas and we're gonna drain them, rinse them, all of that. You know how much I love this. So satisfying. So yes, I recently was detained and it was an interesting experience because I have visited close to 70 countries now, which is disgusting. I'm like, why have I been to so many places? Like I'm over it. But for the first time ever, I was detained, and I was detained in Canada. And I should have done this a little bit differently. Hold on. Please hold. Okay, now that our chickpeas are successfully drained, we are going to cut the squash in half. We're gonna get out all of those seeds, and then we're gonna cut it into 1/2-inch pieces. Look at all of those seeds. We need to get rid of those. Much better. Let's cut these. Oh, beautiful. Let's cut our apple in halves it. Now you want to take your smoky honey habanero spice blend and mix in some olive oil. And in a separate bowl, you want to whisk together some mayonnaise, honey, olive oil, and Dijon mustard. They look like this. And let's get that all nice and yeah. Now let's get a pan and let's put on some tin foil. We are going to put our squash and also our chickpeas. We're going to drizzle some olive oil and then salt and pepper. Now this is gonna go into the oven for 22 minutes and I'm gonna tell you about what it was like being detained. Kale, arugula, bowl. Okay, so back to story time. So I left London to go to Chicago to see Addison Rae, and I had a layover in Calgary, Canada, where I was detained. So I have no idea why I was detained, and I honestly never asked. And I know a lot of people think like, oh, you do content for a living, like you love attention. And I'm like, people are so strange. It has nothing to do with attention. I'm in my kitchen by myself. The nearest thing to me is my dog who's asleep. Like it has nothing to do with attention. That's not why people create content. That's not why people dress cute. I don't like attention, and so I would never cause a scene in public. I would never be like, what are you doing, and freak out and demand that I have answers, and it's like, for what? That sounds embarrassing and weird, and so I just went along with it immediately. I went through everything like normal, obviously you have to go through a second screening through security, all of your stuff goes through, whatever. And then you go and hey, here's where I'm traveling to, here's where I came from, this is how anything I've purchased, this is that, blah, blah, blah. And it was my first time ever where he asked me all the questions, I answered them, and he just goes, unfortunately, I do have to ask additional questions, come with me. And I was like, okay. And I just went, and they bring me to this room, and he said, just have a seat and we'll call you when it's your turn. And it was me and one other man seated a little bit far back, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, what the heck? Like, what did I do? You know, because I'm like, did I have something in my bag I wasn't supposed to? Like, all these thoughts are going through your head. But my only fear was like, please don't take my passport from me. I was like, oh my gosh, am I like banned from traveling? And once they called my name, I go up, they are asking me tons of questions, and they're like, we are going to have to search your bags. I had my suitcase and a backpack, and they're like, we have to search everything, like item by item. And I was like, okay. So, like, I don't get embarrassed necessarily. I more so just like felt bad for them because this was 3 weeks worth of stuff. So it was a lot of stuff. And it was like kind of funny to me because they legit go through every item one by one. And as they're doing it, they're asking you questions, and they're asking you the same questions over and over to like try to catch you in a lie, essentially. And I'm talking like when I say they go through everything, they go through everything. Like, I even had a used Kleenex in my backpack that they pulled out and examined, and then they bomb test everything. They like just, it was the craziest thing. And then all they kept asking me is, am I genuinely a US citizen? So I know, like, you in your head, like, okay, like, obviously racism or whatever, but the other person was not brown. So I don't believe it has anything to do with that. I think that I just travel so much, it was bound to happen at some point. Like, whatever, flag their system. And then this sounds so silly, but I also had a bunch of jelly cats. Like, I purchased like 20 jelly cats. So like, my friends and I decided that they thought I was smuggling jelly cats, because even the jelly cats, they went through them, they were like opening them, they were like, and the guy was kind of like, what is this adult woman doing with all these jelly cats? Because he was like, what is this? And then the most uncomfortable part of it wasn't even that. It's that after going through my suitcase, he hadn't even made it to my backpack yet, he just said, I'll be right back, and walked off. And it was just me standing there awkwardly, like trying not to look suspicious, but I feel like you already look and feel suspicious because you're in this detention room. And so I'm just like, and then like, you can't be on your phone or anything. So it's like, I couldn't even like text anyone, nothing. I'm just like, and then he finally comes back and he just immediately starts like interrogating me, asking me everything. Like, I had a pill bottle of like, I can't remember what I had, like Advil or something. And he was like, what is this for? And I'm like, thanks. Like, in case my head starts hurting. I don't you have to understand that like, my backpack has so many little opening spots, and I don't clear them out between trips. Like, the main compartment I do, everything else I don't. So sometimes he'd pull something out and I'd be like, that's probably been in there since 2016. I don't freaking know, so and then I didn't ask any questions. I didn't ask why I was there. I didn't ask if I was in trouble. And then once he finished going through my stuff, mind you, this is a different person than the person who brought me in. So that guy, long gone. And then as he starts asking me more questions, that guy comes back. The original one comes back and stands there to listen to my answers. Like, they wanted to make sure everything added up. And it was like, this is so crazy. Like, I didn't do anything. And they kept asking, why was I there? And then they're like, why did you go to Dublin and London for the Vikings? Because I'm from Minnesota. I was born and raised in Minnesota. I no longer live there, but that's where I'm from. And so, because they asked me, where were you born? And I said, Minnesota. And so they're like, but you no longer live there. And I'm like, well, correct. People move. So like, I didn't say that, but in my head, I'm like, oh my, people move all the time. And they're like, but you still went to these games despite no longer living in Minnesota. And I'm like, yes. Like, what? Like, it was so crazy and weird. And then essentially they said, okay, They re-verified my passport, they asked me a couple more questions, and then they let me go. And I haven't felt like weird since, but after leaving that, I was like, I'm not gonna travel for a while because that was scary. But I'm also just like, honestly, it's probably because I travel a lot. But this year I have not traveled that much. So it's kind of like, why would it trigger now? Like there was one year alone, I think I visited like 20 countries in one singular year. And I'm like, why didn't it flag then? You know what I mean? So yeah, I got detained. Nothing bad happened. I didn't get in trouble. They just went through all my stuff. They asked me a bunch of questions. They let me go. But it was still nerve-wracking for sure. The whole time I was like, what did I do? And are you gonna take my passport? But I just said, okay. And when I told my friends, like, why? Did you ask why? And I'm like, no, I just went with it. Because it's like, even if they told me a reason why, like, would it really have mattered? Like, I don't feel like it really would have mattered because it's already happening. So it's not like me knowing was going to prevent that. I don't know. We got about 6 minutes left. Okay, so there's about 45 seconds left. We are going to take out the squash and the chickpeas. We're going to put them in a bowl, and then remember that olive oil and spice blend that we mixed together. We are going to mix all three together, so it's going to be nice and tasty. Okay, let's toss this all together. Okay, now let's take our arugula, kale, and let's add in our dressing. Let's add in our squash and our chickpeas. And let's add our apples. And now we get to use my favorite tool and carefully mix it all together. And there we have it. This looks so delicious. I'm very excited. Oh yeah. So if you enjoyed my story time and hearing about me being detained and you enjoyed watching me cook, like, comment, subscribe.